So next up, that was great, wasn't it? It was really thought-provoking, a great start to Social Day. Really love to hear from Katie. But now up is Alice Moore O'Farrell from WWF International. Their social media is awesome. Go have a look. But she's the global head of digital as well. And I had, again, interviewed Alice a little while ago in the Social Day community, and she's absolutely fantastic. But she's going to be looking at what makes social media really social. You're going to find out how to generate authentic engagement, create valued content, work with the elusive algorithms, and get properly sociable with Alice today. Don't forget to ask your questions in the discuss section as you go along, and at the end of the session I'll be back to ask them directly to Alice for you. So without further ado, let's welcome Alice to the Social Day virtual stage.
Hello. Hi, I'm Alice, and really, really excited to be here. Huge thank you to Lucy, Sam, Jade, and all the team. I also found Katie's talk, as ever, absolutely fascinating. I hope you did too. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about putting the social back into social media. And I really had a long think about this talk. The Q&A that Lucy and I did earlier in the year, and just talking to people generally, it seems that a lot of you are having social media sort of just added onto your job role, or perhaps your manager said, oh, do you mind just looking after the socials? And I think it means that a lot of people are doing this really exciting and interesting job, but without that much support or training. So even if you're a seasoned professional and have been doing this for years, or if it's something that you're a little bit new to, I really hope you're going to find something useful from the next 20 minutes. And I believe there's a coffee break at 11:15, so that's always something worth holding out for. So let's start at the beginning. Social media is not about broadcasting, and I'm sure you guys probably know that, but certainly the current president of the USA doesn't seem to know that. Traditional media is there to broadcast. Social media is all about community building, having conversations, asking questions, learning, sharing, and growing. And really, at the heart of any social strategy is community engagement. So I want to share with you a few tips and approaches that we use at WWF International to nurture engaged communities. So back in April, we launched a competition called Billion Shades of Green. And it was about the billion shades that you find in nature. You can see from the slide that we used this Pantone reference as a device for the competition, and asked people, many of whom were experiencing lockdown in their countries, to share pictures from nature and enter the competition. We had a phenomenal response. I think, there are a number of things that led to having so many entries in the thousands. People wanting to feel part of something, people feeling frustrated they couldn't go out into nature, which is so valuable to us in so many ways. And using user-generated or UGC content really helps to bring people together and starts to nurture those communities. Also, we have noticed, as probably any of you who work in social media have, for the past 5 years, organic reach has just been dropping off a cliff, right? You can't reach the people who follow you just with your everyday organic strategy. However, certainly with Facebook, they're tackling this by creating groups and investing quite a lot in those groups. So we launched this year Team Earth, what's Team Earth? So it's a community of people. It's not hugely WWF branded, but we encourage conversation, get people involved. They're talking about how they're restoring nature in their local communities or at their local schools or with their friends. And we're getting lots of tips and ideas and really hopeful conversations about how people are interacting with nature in their locality. And obviously, it's quite important that you get a good quality community, so the conversations are useful and that people find value in joining the community. So a way of doing this is to provide exclusive content. Now, just a few weeks ago, we launched a special session which included 3 of our influencer community. Suyash, Bhavna and Joshua very kindly gave up a few hours of their day to share with Team Earth group members what's it like to be a conservation biologist or a wildlife filmmaker or an activist in this space. And it was just a wonderful session. And this is an example on the current slide of a tweet that we sent out. So we're cross-promoting the Facebook group in other platforms to bring people in and talk to them about it. And in order to get access to this exclusive content, you just join the Facebook group. And we saw a really big upsurge in members. So that was very exciting. So exclusive content really worked for us in terms of the Facebook group. So what else can we do to nurture and build our communities? We really recommend valued content. What's something that your followers are really going to find value in, which then means they're much more likely to engage, be it sharing, tagging, liking, commenting. And the more engagement your post gets, the more valuable it will look to the algorithms, and therefore the more people who will see it. And we're going to come on to that in a little bit. But here is an example of using the Instagram grid to its best advantage during lockdown. So what we wanted to do was share a range of how animals use their homes. And this is a Joey, a baby kangaroo, and they make themselves at home in their mother's pouch for the first few months of their lives. So we wanted to bring valuable content that people would expect to see from WWF, but also making links with what was happening in people's lives during this really very difficult time. So in terms of taking that valued content, you then really want to start telling your stories. And it's so important to think about what are the messages you want to get across and what's the best way to tell that story. So at WWF, we obviously work with wildlife, but we also work within their habitats like the forests or the oceans or fresh water, and we work across climate and food systems. All of these areas are really important to local people and local wildlife and us thriving together. But it's very hard to take people on that journey if you're going to follow us for images of wildlife, which is absolutely fine. But it was an issue that we had. So we've come up with the golden thread. So I'm going to take you through the golden thread. We start with a post that's awe-inspiring. You're feeling the natural world is beautiful, it's incredible, it's worth saving. That's not enough, because we also need to help you be aware of the threats and the real danger that the natural world is under. However, we always want to be hopeful, and we want you to feel that there's steps you can take. So that leads us on to the last part of our golden thread: action. I can see how I can help. I can see what I can do to help the natural world. So I'm going to give you an example. We have a Stop Plastic Pollution campaign. Excuse me a second. Thank you. And it's all about stopping plastics entering the oceans and waterways of the world. So this is an example of a beautiful whale breaching, and it brings people in. What's this awe-inspiring message all about? Then we make you aware that actually, because of human activity, our marine wildlife is under serious threat. And this is a quite hard-hitting image, but it really got the point across. And rather than leaving you feeling helpless, we then take you to action. And this was a small video showing, the amount of plastic that is entering our marine spaces. And this then led to the petition where you could ask global leaders to sign a binding treaty to stop plastics entering our oceans. And the petition's at nearly 2 million signatures so far. So if you're one of the people who signed it, huge thanks from all of us at WWF. So we've talked about how to build communities online and how to really start telling stories that will bring your followers with you. We also need to understand the algorithms when we're working with social media. None of us own these platforms. They're Facebook and Twitter, Google, they own these platforms. So they can change the algorithms, which they do quite frequently. So it's important to try and keep up with them. The algorithms are going to be different across each platform, but there are a few current truths that I want to share with you. So algorithms favour rich media. That's engaging video or GIFs or even emoji, things that are adding texture and depth to your messages. They will be seen by the algorithms as being useful and valuable and therefore engaging. So that reward keeps building as more people interact with your content because they find it exciting or funny or educational or useful or valuable. That's when they're going to engage with the content. And therefore more people will see your content and you'll get your message out to more people. But as I said, the digital landscape is forever shifting. And I think Katie was alluding to this point too in her talk. Really trying to keep up with the trends is important. So find some good blogs or some people to follow on social media that can help keep you up to date with that shifting landscape. But remember that people aren't going to see your content chronologically. So in the order at which you've posted it, people might see your content at different times. And again, I'm going to come on to that a little bit more in a couple of slides' time. So given that the algorithms are a little bit different on each channel, it's really important when you're creating your content strategies that you think channel first. What sort of content is going to be in competition with my content? So you're always constantly in a very noisy space. People are scrolling through their social media. You want thumb-stopping content, something that's going to make someone stop and look and engage. So the channel first strategy is really key. And just, a few examples from the way that we approach it at WWF. Facebook, we use that to educate and encourage action and get that engagement because that's what works with the Facebook algorithm. On Instagram, we're looking for strong visuals. But remember, that doesn't mean it has to be polished and perfect filters. Not at all. We've really noticed with Generation Z that there's a rejection of perfection. Really, they want, true life, strong visuals, and with a strong call to action. And that's what works for us, and that's how we apply the content for Instagram. And then Instagram stories, we do have Facebook stories as well, but they haven't quite caught up yet with the popularity and usage of stories on the Instagram platform. With more than 10,000 followers on Instagram, you get the opportunity to do a swipe up link at the end of your story. So we tend to use maybe 5 to 6 frames. That seems to be the optimum for attention spans with our audiences. And then the immediacy and the action of swiping up to sign a petition, to go and watch longer form content on IGTV or on YouTube, maybe to go to our website to find out more. And that's been really useful for us, and we've seen really fantastic engagement around using Instagram stories. But what we also find with social media is it's very divisive, and it's becoming more so. People are so polarized on social media. And what we really need to think about social media is how it brings people in through your door, and then you want them into your home. So your home might be your email list. It could be your website. It could be your blog site. You're not always going to be able to use social media to share all of the information or bring people on a journey if they want to engage further with you. So some examples of using social media for lead generation was this really positive news that we shared recently on Twitter. So Vietnam announced that they're going to close down illegal wildlife markets and put tougher restrictions on some of the key drivers around this current global health pandemic. So this was really good news. You can see we've used strong hashtag, we've got emoji here, and then we take people into our website on panda.org. So that's where they can find out more, they can sign up to our email newsletter, and we're bringing them into our home. And that's where we can get a deeper level of engagement with our communities. Another way to do this, I was talking before about Instagram and how it's so useful for us. But as you all know, you can't put a URL into an Instagram grid post. You'll tend to say, tap the link in our bio. But because the algorithms are such that you're not going to see content, people aren't going to see your content as you post it. So you might have a post on Instagram that says link into our bio, but your bio link is another campaign. So we noticed that we were constantly changing the link in our bio. It wasn't a great user experience or UX. So we've used this quick links solution. And here you can see if you tap the link in our bio at WWF on Instagram, you have a range of different ways to engage with us, watching an Our Planet episode, joining our Team Earth community, taking part in some of our campaigns, offering activities for people at home. It's a really great way to use social media as a lead generation tool and bring people into your family. So audience mapping is taken at different levels for different organisations. So I'm just going to show a really simple way to do audience mapping. You can go into much more complex depths if you need to. However, what we do as very basic is location. So international, we are looking at different countries, but you might be looking at specific locales within a nation. Basic demographics, so gender, age, ethnicity, religion, it's all really useful to know who your followers are, and also then what their interests are. And people share this information very readily on social media, so it helps you build up an understanding of who your audience is. That then leads on to how you can build up your paid strategies. Now, we don't have a lot of budget. We're in the not-for-profit sector, but we do try and find little bits of budget to put behind certain posts or campaigns in order to reach that larger audience. As we know, organic isn't enough anymore if you want to talk to people outside of your bubble. So ensure your paid and organic strategies are working together, and ensure that you're using your audience mapping to the best of its ability so you get the best return on investment or ROI on your paid strategies. So an example of this was when the Amazon fires were raging, and we wanted to reach out to people who could actually make a difference in this space, because unsustainable logging and and forest and cutting down trees, basically deforestation, were big drivers of the Amazon fires. So we put a bit of budget behind a video targeting directors, owners, and CEOs in the logistics and supply chain of food production and farming, because they can actually make a difference and say to their suppliers, we will not take unsustainable or illegally harvested wood. And you can see our click-through rate and our view rate absolutely smashed industry averages. So we are actually really making a difference with that bit of budget, the targeting we wouldn't have been able to do just with organic. So as we're wrapping up, I just want to follow up to say that we're looking to nurture our communities, tell our stories, and make the algorithms work for us. Also want a channel-first strategy and use social media for lead generation with your clear audience mapping. And in the final minute, anyone who works in social media, remember, you need a good sense of humour. This is a lovely tweet from way back when I worked in the UK office with the Wrestling Federation asking for their name back. I've popped a little emoji over the word they used, but we can probably all guess what it was. My response was hashtag panda hugs and a panda emoji, which got quote tweeted with a much chill from WWF UK. So I just want to end on that fun note and remind you all to have fun with your social media. And I really hope that that was useful. And a huge thank you to Social Day and for everyone for being here and taking part. And as we say at WWF, together possible. Thank you.
Hi, Alice. Thank you so much. That was such a great session. And there's so many comments against your session talking about how fantastic it was, how much people have learned, and that kind of thing. But we also have a few questions as well. Are you ready to answer them?
Born ready, Lucy.
Fantastic. It's great to see you, by the way.
It's lovely to see
Okay.
you too. You're looking great.
I just wanted to go back actually to when we did an interview a few weeks ago, didn't we? I think I was on holiday at the time, and we did an interview in the Social Day community, and you had some great insight there as well. So if anybody wants to catch up on that, you can feel free to. But we have a few questions. Actually, we have quite a lot of questions, Alice. So I'm going to try and pick a few out. Nicholas says, actually, Nick, that's not a question. That's talking about how great it is and how much she loves it. Daisy Mason says, was the Stop Plastic Pollution post one after the other in a small space of time, or was it the same post?
Oh, yeah, that's. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. They're link posts in a short space of time, so people could, join in at any point in terms of the golden thread. And you can use different platforms in different ways to tell stories like that. So you can use a carousel, or you could do a threaded tweet. You can link back to posts and refer to them. There's different ways that you can apply storytelling, like the golden thread, depending on which channel you're on, which is why the channel first strategy is so key to apply across your content.
Thank you. And Jenna Lloyd says, what do you find the best tactics are for, she's put selling like this, products on your socials without sounding pushy or generic, e.g. WWF merch and sponsorships?
Yeah, I think it's all about balance. So if you're constantly asking people for things, they are going to feel bombarded and like they're being sold to. So, but you do need, obviously, to get fundraising in or to sell your products. So I think it's where the valued content comes in. What value are people going to get from buying your products? You're not just pushing them at them and hoping that they're going to fall somewhere. So understanding your audience, what problem are you solving with your product, or what benefit are people going to get? So that feel good when you give money to a charity. In our case, people feel really good that they're helping. They understand the money's going to something they care about. So that's valuable to them. It gives them a really good, strong, warm feeling. So have a think about what problem you're solving with your product, and that'll help you frame it in a way that is beneficial to your audience, rather than feeling like they're being pushed messages and feel like they're being sold at.
Fantastic. That's great advice. Thank you, Alice. I hope that answered your question well, Jenna. And we have a question from Ella Orr. And Ella says, what app are you using for the Instagram web links so that you utilize the link in bio more effectively?
Thanks, Ella. Let me work with Lucy to get that to you. Maybe we can share it so everybody can benefit. So rather than me reading out the URL, let's share that somewhere, Lucy, if we can, in a space everyone can access.
Yeah, so we could share that in the discuss part of your talk if that works. So if you just drop us it over, we'll paste it in there for you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
I'll do
okay.
that after this.
Thank you so much, Alice. And Danny says, you mentioned using rich media to get around the algorithms. How do you balance this with inclusivity, i.e. better to use less emojis for screen readers, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not so much getting around the algorithms, it's how it's working with the algorithms. So I think with screen readers, it's really, balancing your content is really important. But if you are particularly in a space that accessibility is important, again, it's just understanding your audiences and the channel first strategy. So if you have the opportunity to have subtitles, that's really important on any video content. Just using a few emoji at the end of your post helps in terms of the screen readers. So you're not having like a clap every other word, which will just be sort of hello clap, Alice here clap. So it's just where you place those in terms of thinking about accessibility. But I'd really like to see the algorithms being tweaked to support the importance of accessible posts. And I think that some of the larger tech organizations might be moving in that direction. So let's keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, fantastic. And a really good question, Danny. Nikki Carwood has a question. She says, hi, Alice. What non-WWF social campaign have you seen and really thought, wow, that's effective?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's so many. I always hate trying to pick just one. I mean, I think actually Nike are really, really great in their space. They do such amazing things, just even during lockdown, helping people to stay fit and exercise and take part in, sort of major worldwide competitions that, the average person can't get involved in. It's really aspirational. It's very inclusive. It's very diverse. They really seem to know who their audiences are. And I think they have really good and authentic ambassadors as well. You feel like it's genuine affiliations. So I hate to pick out one, but I'll go with excuse me, I'll go with Nike.
Thank you, Alice. And this is a really good question from Michael Younger here. He says, how do you balance the fun element with the serious element of WWF's messaging?
Yeah, I think it is a hard balancing act, and I don't know whether we get it right or not. You'll have to tell me. But I think it's just in terms of, again, how we tell the stories. We're talking to people, so everybody knows, that we all have different elements of our characters, and we can see that things can be beautiful and fun, but that there are also serious or tragic consequences in life. So I think it's just like any sort of conversation you'd have with someone. Sometimes you have a light conversation, sometimes you get a bit more serious, sometimes you have a bit of small talk, sometimes you really, go into great depth about something, or you can be very supportive about an issue that maybe a friend's having. That's how I kind of try and look at it. Life is a balance, and I think that, our audiences are smart enough and sensitive enough to understand that. But it's a really good point in terms of you can't just always be flippant and you can't always be really serious, because I think people just can get tired of that, and it doesn't play out in real life. And I think just remembering that when you're on social media, that it is really about being sociable and about being human. So I hope that answers your question. It's a little bit of a roundabout answer.
think it's really good. It's just important, isn't it, to just understand that you have conversations, and so really, really good. We've got a couple more questions. I think we can probably answer two more, but then Alice will be around. Will you to answer some of the questions in the app, maybe?
Of course.
Or we're forwarding to you. Fantastic. So Alvin Hussey, hi Alvin, it's good to see you here. Anyway, he says, great talk. How do you use social listening tools to plan your campaigns, e.g., working out which animals initiative you should promote at certain times? For example, did you do anything around tigers during the buzz around Netflix's Tiger King?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we do use social listening tools. It's really important. We have regular updates that we run, regular reports. Social listening and social intelligence is really important for us. The Tiger King series, wow, yeah, that was a ride, wasn't it? It was a difficult one because we don't work with captive animals, and we also are aware at WWF International not everybody has access to Tiger King. So Netflix releases some of their things are globally released, some of them are more locally released. So to jump on something like Tiger King would have been, I guess, like our US office perhaps, or our UK office might have done something around that. At International, we have to take a bit more of a global look. So a lot of people might not have access to Netflix, or that Netflix wouldn't have released that particular title in their country. So that's a little bit of an insight into my role at a global level and how we have to really make sure that we're being inclusive to our audiences wherever they are in the world.
Thank you, Alice. And do you use any specific tools or anything for social listening?
Yeah, so we use Synthesio and we use TweetDeck and we use the native tools. I think since the API closed down around Cambridge Analytica scandal, it's been much harder to use other tools to gain all of the insights you need. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve in terms of the tools that you should use. But we have Synthesio because it's a very deep listening tool, good for monitoring. But for day-to-day analytics, we go natively into the tool itself. And sorry, to the platform itself.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered your question well, Alvin. We've got so many questions, but I think we've got time for just one more, and then it's on to our networking and everything else that we have planned. I can't believe it's only 10 past 11. It feels like we've done so much already. I've learned so much
You're doing
already.
amazingly. And just honestly, hats off to you and the team and the AV guys and everyone. You do not know what goes on behind the scenes, guys. It's been amazing. Well done.
Thank you so much, Alice. Right, so we've got this question here from Emily Hawes, and she says, great talk, Alice. Everybody is literally saying what a brilliant session this is. So thank you so
much.
She says you mentioned having quite a small budget for paid social due for being a not for profit. How often do you boost post, and what kind of budget do you look to utilise when doing this?
Yeah, it really depends. We don't tend to boost posts so much. We do tend to sort of put a little bit of a paid strategy in. So I don't know, it could be $1,000 US, and we might use that particularly if we've got a message that we really need to get outside of our little echo chamber, which is what the algorithms create. So if it's a petition that we really have to get some key decision makers to sign, we might use in terms of advocacy, a bit of budget to target exactly those kind of decision makers or high level ministers, like you saw with the Amazon post, actually getting people who can demand that their supply chain is sustainable. It's things like that at an international level that we'd be looking to really use budget where it can give us our best possible return, and that is in affecting positive change in the real world. And that's where it's so exciting, where you can actually see social media having a positive impact to making our planet a little bit happier.
Fantastic. I hope that answered your question, well, Emily. And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into Alice's session. It was absolutely fantastic. And if you do go and look at the discuss part or into your messages on the app, I'm sure you'll see all of the fantastic comments. If people want to find out more about WWF, where can they go to find that information, Alice?
Yeah,
And to
so
maybe find you.
panda.org. Go to panda.org or follow us on any channel at WWF. If you're in the UK, you should follow our national office, which is at WWF_UK, or follow us all. You go and have a look at our Mexico team or wherever you want to have a look at. But thank you so much. I haven't seen the comments yet, but that's really lovely that Lucy, you've told me that there's lots of positive response. So I really hope you found it helpful. Social media can be a little bit scary, and I just hope that this might have given you a little bit of a boost in terms of what you're doing, and I'm sure you're doing brilliantly at it. And thanks again to Social Day.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon and talking to you as well in the app. Hello. And there he is, the panda. So see you later, Alice. Thank you so much again.